bringing New York back to what it used to be or turning it into something new?
What is this red flag pin? Is this an American Chinese flag pin? What's going on here? I can't tell. In my head canon, I'm assuming it's a Chinese flag.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. I think he's trying to say he's going to somehow return public transit to its former glory and generally expand city services.
Is the U.S. Marine flag? Okay, in my mind, it's the Chinese flag.
The metaphor he's just created is really something. You see him there in underground. This is a subway station that has been abandoned for the last 80 years. It was one of the original subway stations, and then when they brought in new cars, there was a dangerous gap, so they could...
I wonder if there's any symbolism associated with this, and perhaps like they are refusing to recognize that and instead making commentary over it.
No longer use this platform and closed it down in 1945. So dated, obsolete, dark, dingy is kind of a nice description of socialism and the misery it's caused over the last century. Let's hope, let's hope this isn't some kind of sick sense of humor for him, but maybe it's kind of a way of lowering expectations. But they should be very low. These are policies he's promised that have failed all over the world and in New York City as well. We've had some form of rent control for roughly a century. We know this doesn't work, and I think the hope for those of us in this city is that the institutional restraints on him slow him down a bit, that he maybe has a change of heart, and I'd hope your viewers around the country maybe resist laughing at all of our self-inflicted misery.
There's really two angles when it comes to Zohran Mamdani that we can look at. One of them is his economic...
The saddest state of affairs is that nothing that Zohran Mamdani is presenting or presented as a part of his agenda is socialist. Not even a little bit. He himself is a socialist advancing social democracy, right? But these guys say everything is socialist. They say Nancy Pelosi is socialist. They say social democracy is socialist. None of it matters. Just do right by your voters. It's incredibly modest. Like the expansions that he is advocating for, that he ran on, that he won on, are incredibly modest, incredibly incremental reforms in the positive direction. And yet, these guys lose their minds over it. And part of that, a big part of that is obviously like anti-socialist propaganda, no matter what, right? But the reason why that propaganda sticks is because people have been conditioned against this sort of thing pretty aggressively. And that's why I always say you have to organize around this. You have to recognize this when you're organizing. You have to recognize this when you're doing advocacy. The unfortunate reality is that the average American has the brain of a child when it comes, a very angry child when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Economic policies. We just showed you a full screen of those. We talk about freezing the rent, city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace police, free buses. Some of these I don't think will ever even get off the ground. Some of them are radical ideas, and some of them will probably be entertained and implemented in some ways. Those are his economic policies. On the other side is...
Do you think this will water down expectations and popular understanding of what socialism is? No. I think if it's all these incremental gains are successful, it's ultimately a good thing because people will go, oh, that's great. I want that. I guess I should vote for more people who are self-identifying socialists. It's the same with Bernie. A lot of people in the United States of America take Bernie Sanders' position for granted. Bernie Sanders, for the most part, has advocated for, again, a similar thing that Zohran is advocating for here, an expansion of existing social safety nets. Even Medicare for all. It's in the name. Medicare is socialized health care. Unfortunately, right now, it's only for 65 plus. Medicare for All would expand that program and allow every American to sign on it. Have a single payer system. That exists in social democracies. It's technically not advocacy for seizing the means of production or anything like that. That exists in other social democracies. It's understandable. One of the first things that you learn in your micro and macroeconomic principles class is the concept of inelastic demand goods. So even classical economics understands that healthcare is an inelastic demand good. And therefore, you have to actually either heavily regulate the supply or you have to completely control it. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, companies, private enterprise that is only interested in increasing profits will consistently increase the price point of said good or service because they know if you don't have healthcare, you die. Yeah, with inelastic demand, the concept of supply and demand does not work. It's that simple. And yet here in the United States of America, all these brilliant economists refuse to reckon with that. I wonder why. Perhaps it's because they're insincere. Okay? It's the first thing you learn in your economics class. Literally one of the first things you learn. Isn't that crazy? And yet all of these people, even liberals, so-called brilliant economists, refuse to bring it up in this conversation. Very strange.
It's the people he's putting in his cabinet. I mean, he just appointed, I think, his chief counsel, someone who felt compelled and called to come defend the Al-Qaeda attackers that were involved in 9/11. So, you know, when you take those two angles, what do you have here?
Yeah, there are some restraints.
What's your take on people further the left and Demsocks calling him a social fascist? I'm constantly telling my friends that we aren't even at this point where we have organized socialist movements to fuck over. And their retorts are usually, well, siphons political potential socialists to reformist positions. Yeah, okay. So what's their argument? I mean, I hear it all the time. I hear it in this community all the time as well. What's your argument? Are you actually, where is the potential socialist that you are moving away from reformist positions? Wait, they're talking about me? No, they're not talking about me. They're just talking about 9/11. Like, see, that's what I mean. You act as though you are already fomenting revolutionary socialist values amongst a labor class that is completely oblivious to their class position. So where is your propaganda? Where is your movement? You know what I mean? Where is your movement? If the people that you have in mind are just like willing and they're ready and they're excited at the prospect of a violent revolution, there needs to be some organization around it, no? Like, there needs to be some organizing around it. The idea that all Americans are just Marxist-Leninists in weight, but progressives siphon them away is very silly, but persistent one on the left. Exactly. It's just like, I don't even necessarily disagree with this concept either, as far as like, I always say this, like, most people, if you don't use the term socialism, will agree with socialism. Most people, if you don't tell them that you're educating them on class consciousness or their class position in society, will understand it if you don't use certain keywords. 100%. A lot of the concepts, when removed of the ideological associations and the endless amount of stink associated with it due to Red Scare propaganda, are just basic concepts. When reduced to its bare bones, like communism. I saw like a movie with Bryan Cranston in it, where his daughter is sitting on top of a Trumbo, Hollywood Blacklist, I think, where his daughter is asking him, "Dad, are you a communist?" Oh, here it is. Here it is. This is it. Okay, it's super simple.
Are you a communist? Is that against the law? The lady with the big hat said you were a dangerous radical.
Yeah. Some of the Phase Boys were talking to Toby from the Sidemen, and people were praising Toby for controlling their own wage and what they want to do. Exactly. Great point, Chatter. I didn't know that the Sidemen had a cooperative formation. Okay? They had a cooperative ownership structure. I only found that out because Toby from the Sidemen, Sidemen, for those of you who don't know, is an incredibly popular, if not the most popular group of content creators in the UK. Okay? Their most popular content creator from the Sidemen is KSI, for those of you who don't know. Sidemen, when they first started as a cooperative, basically. They're the biggest YouTubers in the UK by far, and they have a cooperative structure where they have one pool of money, and they have equal say and equal pay over the distribution of resources and the revenue generation strategies, all that stuff. And that's amazing. But of course, when you describe it as like, oh, this is a cooperative corporation, this is socialist, this is like, you know, securing the means of production or whatever, right? people go, "Ugh, gross, I don't want that. That's scary. That's weird. That's bad. That's wrong." But when you just say like, "Nah, we're friends and we started this business together and we wanted to make sure that like we look out for one another," right? Whereas your co-op Azan, I literally own and operate a cooperative corporation. What the is wrong with you? Fear and is a cooperative. And I wanted to have a conversation with the boys that left Phase about potentially restarting their whatever enterprise they start as a cooperative. Obviously, me having that conversation as a as someone who is like advocating for cooperatives is going to be met with tremendous anger and resentment, and people will push back on it, and it will actually lead them away from even thinking about it sincerely. Whereas when you have a successful YouTuber, like one of the sidemen being like, "Oh yeah, we have a cooperative structure," without actually saying those words, much more effective more effective way of driving home that point.
Radical, dangerous, only to men who fling cokes.
If you could have any superpower in the world.
Wait, what the is this? Why? What?
I love our country, and it's a good government. Anything good could be better, don't you think?
Is Mom a communist?
Why don't we give you the official test? Mom makes your favorite lunch,
Ham and cheese.
and at school you see someone with no lunch at all. Well, you don't tell them to just go get a job.
No.
Oh, you offer them a loan at 6%. Oh, that's very clever. Then you just ignore them. Well, you little commie.
At its bare bones, that's a perfect distillation. Is a perfect way to explain this. A worldview that revolves around equality. A worldview that revolves around the principle of sharing is caring. That's why I always say that. The movie is Trumbo. That's it.
We are a creditor and interested party. The city is owed money that Pinnacle never paid. And we will fight for New Yorkers' interests.
Get him on the pod, big dog. What are you doing? Do you think Bryan Cranston is actually a communist in real life and not playing one on this in this movie from 2015? Are you okay? And even if he was, do you think I have any way of getting him on my podcast? Did you think that Bryan Cranston was also a meth dealer? My dad's friend knows him. I can get you hooked up. Okay, well, if your dad's friend knows him, and not even your dad knows him, that's going to be quite difficult, don't you think? Yeah, I think Bryan Cranston's probably like a typical lib, like a very progressive guy. I have an older coworker that is a fan of Charlie Kirk that said he believes communism doesn't work, and I did the same thing. I asked him, did he go to public school? Did you like going to public school? Did you have free lunches? Did you enjoy having free lunches? Congratulations, you like communism. Yeah. Sometimes it's good and purposeful to make things easy to understand like that, especially when everyone is constantly trying to make it more confusing and complicated to comprehend. It is what it is. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid, right?
I think it's chief counsel, someone who felt compelled and called to come defend the Al-Qaeda attackers that were involved in 9/11. So, when you take those two angles, what do you have here?
Yeah, there are some restraints on him, as you point out. So rent control, going further to freeze the rent. He probably needs to wait a year to get all of his people onto the board that makes...
I don't think he means me, chatter. You're being crazy.